It's Friday, February 19th, 2021, and this is The Inbox with Greg Nibbler. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. Appreciate everybody who's tuning in wherever you are. Thank you. Go ahead and hit subscribe on whatever platform you are watching on. This is The Inbox with Greg Nibbler, but you can follow us at 2Box Media, TWO Box Media, because that is where you can find us. So whatever platform it is, we do appreciate it. We've got a lot of videos up on YouTube too lately, so I want to highlight that. But wherever you are, this is great. We've got some good things we're going to talk about here, kind of wrap up some big stories of the week, and we're going to play our interview with Rachel Kronyak, one of the engineers for Perseverance, the Mars rover that just successfully landed on Mars yesterday. It is so cool. So let's talk about that here right out of the gate. I'm sure a lot of you, if you're watching this, watched the coverage yesterday, but in case you didn't, this was a monumental moment for space exploration, and it played out live on TV as far as watching the people who have been working on this for over a decade as they see their entire work this entire time play out where it could have just crashed and burned, I mean, quite literally in front of everyone, but instead, they did it. They were successful. They sent the most advanced robot rover of all time to another planet, and they did it without really a hitch at all. It's pretty impressive what they were able to do. So a lot of videos, a lot of coverage of that. If you watched it live yesterday, it's always fun kind of seeing that behind the scenes side of things, of just what goes on in a space command center. But the recap, July 30th, 2020, that's when this launched. Almost 300 million miles later, it reaches Mars and it lands successfully, going through the 7 minutes of terror and everything that's associated with that. So now, what kind of comes next? That's kind of a big question of it. They were successful with this. What happens next? Well, we're going to be talking to Rachel Kronyak. I'll be playing that interview here in just a little bit, and she goes into that some detail. But the basic bullet points are this. This rover is now going to explore the Jezero crater, which they believe is a former lake bed on Mars, and it's going to be looking for life. And there's an interactive map. Okay, I know I'm a space nerd, and I know you know this if you watch this, but this is just still cool for me. I should be pushing up my glasses right now, but you can zoom in on Mars and see exactly where it's at any time. It's cool. So it's a live interactive map, and it just kind of showcases what it is. It's not moving right now, and it doesn't move fast. It's not like you're going to see it zipping around on this. They've got to check everything out for a few days here first to make sure it all works, but then you're going to be able to track where it goes as it searches for signs of ancient life on Mars. I mean, this is the thing that could prove that aliens exist on other planets, or that there were actually, it's funny, I had somebody bring this up, like, actually, we're the aliens in this case. It's the native life. But it could prove that at one point there was microbial life on there. We're the aliens invading them. So that's part of what it's going to be doing. That's kind of the long-term plan. It'll take a while before it gets to the right spot. But another thing that's big are the images that it's sending back. It did send back one image almost immediately after it landed, but then we've got some more that are just coming out, and that is what is so amazing. These are big files, so it took a while to send them in, but we're getting that. That right there is a picture from the sky crane, as it's called, or from the parachute, really, of the sky crane as it's lowering down onto the planet. I get excited. I can't even talk straight when I'm talking about this. But yes, look at that. That is so incredible. We've never seen anything like that before. And on top of that, between these images that it's sending back, we're supposed to be getting video. There's another one. That one just came through, I mean, maybe a half hour before we went live. So this is really, really exciting stuff. And the video, though, that we're going to be getting, ideally, again, things could go wrong. Camera could stop functioning, but most likely we will. So we're going to get video footage of that landing. We're also going to get video of what's called the super cam, which has a laser on it. It's going to be vaporizing rock, and we'll get to hear the sounds of that. That's the other thing. There are two different microphones that they attached to this rover. There's one that's specifically attached that they wanted to capture the sounds of it as it descended through that 7 minutes of terror, get the wind of Mars and everything associated. It may not last past that, but hopefully it did last through that. And it's actually a specific Dutch company that they went to get this microphone. They had to modify it. They were able to bolt it on. It worked with the equipment that they had, the special kind of powering, the way they had to power it. So really interesting stuff there, especially if you're a sound nerd and audiophile. And then they also have one on the camera. So we're hopefully going to be getting the sounds coming back of Mars as well. really, really cool stuff. Congratulations to NASA, to the Perseverance team, to JPL, and everything they did to get that up there. And I'm expecting that this is one of those things. You get more video, you get more audio, you get more people interested, and who knows where this can go. I mean, it's all leading up to getting humans onto Mars. So pretty cool stuff. So follow along with that. And again, Rachel Kronyak, we're going to be playing that interview here in just a minute. She's an expert. I'm just a fan. All right, continuing on here with some trending news. I wanted to bring this up. Now, if you're in Australia, you're well aware of what's going on, but it's not just Australians who are going to be affected by this. It's a pretty big story that's coming out. Now, we know with social media, there has been a very big push lately to regulate social media, and that's all over the world. It doesn't matter where you are. Social media, big tech, it's all getting very big. But now Facebook has done something and kind of taken an unprecedented move after the threat and most likely passing of a new law in Australia. So the law is this. It's essentially going to require social media networks and even Google to pay news publishers for content that's posted on these sites. So if Facebook is posting things from say the New York Times, just for an example, or Fox News even, they would have to, according to this law, work out a payment arrangement with these publishers. Right now, that's not how that works. News is shared freely on there. It's posted by the sites themselves on their own Facebook pages, and that's how it works. There is no payment system. Facebook basically says that the clicks that they get through that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, so they're not going to pay these sites. That's how it works all around the world. Australia is saying no. You need to negotiate with these platforms in order to pay them. Now, Google did make a payment plan. They worked out an arrangement with News Corp, which is Fox News, Australian-based Rupert Murdoch, all of that. So they worked out something. Facebook went the other way, and they have, as of today, this law isn't even passed yet, by the way. As of today, they have banned the sharing of basically any news on their site in Australia. So that means anything that people have shared individually, those links no longer work. The Australian publishing companies no longer work. They can't post anything. If you go to their pages, they're blank. All of their posts are just gone. And it's not just Australian companies. It's international companies as well. So international publishers, everything in Australia is just wiped clean. And Facebook made this move really quick. They actually accidentally wiped out a bunch of other sites as well. So a bunch of nonprofits, a bunch of governmental agencies that were classified as news, they got wiped out too. They said they're going to be restoring those, but that's how quickly they went. They just, I don't know, they've got a master switch somewhere where they're able to just do that and wipe it all out. So the question comes down to this, and this is what I want to know. So we are live, and I want to know how people feel about this. What do you think about this idea of paying publishers? Now, as somebody who does post, I mean, pretty much, if you're in the media business at all, you have to be on Facebook. And I know for a lot of individual people, they're like, well, I'll just quit, I'll go away. For publishers or anybody who's a content producer, you kind of do need to be on there, because there's a lot of people that get their news from it or will see your videos or share it. Hi to everybody watching on Facebook right now. So the idea of getting paid, that sounds great, versus the idea of sharing. And that's kind of where it comes down to. These big publishers, they could work out agreements. Smaller ones, probably not. They're probably going to get tossed to the wayside, even if some kind of agreement does come out. At the same time, it also controls the spread of misinformation, fake news. Facebook's got a huge problem with that, and I'm looking at them because they're the big ones that this is affecting, and so that would stop that. We're also in a pandemic. News is kind of important to be able to share that if there's something important that's happening for people. So there's so much, it's really just kind of a catch-22. And the reason this is important right now is this is just a case study. What's going on in Australia, that's going to be happening everywhere else. It's going to be happening here. Europe's already talking about it. Canada said they want to do what Australia's doing. So how this all plays out is going to have ramifications for all of us. And it's something that we all need to think about. How should this be handled? As a publisher, I want to be paid for work, but also, is this losing an avenue to share kinds of content for you as an individual? How does it affect you? Big discussions that are going to be going on with this. The law is expected to be passed, I think, early next week, I believe, is when they're going to be doing it. And maybe there's a deal Facebook reaches, but that's where we're at right now. So again, I want to make you aware of that, because it will be affecting you no matter where you are in the world. This is just the start of this. So I think this is going to be a big year when it comes to social media platforms and paying publishers and just all kinds of regulations that could be going into effect. So pay attention to that. All right, one more topic here for you to be aware of, something that you can participate in here this weekend, and then we're going to play our interview with Rachel Kronyak. But if there's an event say that, you maybe always wanted to go to, but never really had the chance, probably wouldn't end up at it. This is, well, last year and this year is the year for you because so many of them are online and available for the public right now. And that includes BlizzardCon, which is now Blizzard Conline. Conline, see what they did there. So this is Blizzard Entertainment and, of course, one of the biggest publishers of video games. They've got some huge games, some huge franchises. We'll talk about those, but they are taking their entire event, which was going to be kind of a mixed in-person virtual thing this year anyway. They said they're taking it all virtual online, and it's happening today, depending on when you're watching, where you're watching. It's February 19th right now, and they're going to be going live today, tomorrow, through this weekend to both showcase what's coming up. It's also the 30th anniversary of Blizzard. Now, to give you a little bit more context here, if you're unaware of Blizzard, you are probably aware of some of their games. Diablo, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, all of those things are from Blizzard. So these are some of the most popular franchises in the world. And what we're expecting from this event are updates. We're going to get some Diablo 4. So a lot of Diablo fans I know that are out there. I once rage quit Diablo 3, but Diablo 4 is now going to be out there, and you're going to be able to see a little bit more of it. We've been waiting for a release date. Just like with everything, COVID's delayed stuff, but hopefully we'll get maybe a release date on that. There's also the remake of Diablo 2 for super fans of the Diablo franchise. The Diablo 2 remake, maybe a little bit more details on that, we're hoping. Let's see, they're dubbing that Diablo 2 Resurrected. So that one could be coming out. Also, find out more about World of Warcraft, as always. Overwatch, what's going on with Overwatch. You have Hearthstone, which... very popular, Hearthstone. So you'll have several different announcements that'll come through that. Also Celebration, maybe some surprises. But the thing here that I want to emphasize again, like I said at the beginning, is this is an event that you can just turn on YouTube and watch and be a part of and see what goes on at these. I kind of love the idea that these have opened up. Normally these things, a lot of these events are pretty exclusive. You had to have flown there, you had to be a part of it. And that's really fun if you get to go to them. But if you don't really get to experience anything. So this is at least a way to get an idea of what these things are like. I'm sure it's pre-produced, but hopefully they do a good job with it, and you can watch it all online. So it is, again, February 19th. Let me give you the exact time. It is at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. So that's going to be happening later today. Tune in, see what they've got, and if you're excited about those games, then definitely something for you. All right, so there is some news for you to catch you up, bring you into the weekend, but we need to talk a little bit more about Mars and the Perseverance rover because I was very fortunate to speak to JPL engineer Rachel Kronyak about what went on, about what it takes to send this up. And this was all before it landed, so I can only imagine how nervous she was really in the background just waiting to see if this landed, but it was successful. So a lot of what she talks about, she's going to get to do now. So let's go ahead and play this. This is Rachel Kronyak from JPL. After launching in July of 2020 and traveling nearly 300 million miles, the Perseverance rover is going to be entering the Martian atmosphere on February 18th. And joining us right now, we have one of the talented engineers responsible for all of this. I want to get her title right. From the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, she is an operations systems engineer. Joining us, we have Rachel Kronyak. Rachel, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Just to kind of go back to that title for a minute, can you tell us a little bit about what that is? What do you do being an operations systems engineer for a Martian rover?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm actually a member of the science operations team for the Perseverance rover. And my specific role on the mission is to sort of help design and implement the processes that we're going to be using to operate Perseverance once she lands on the surface tomorrow. And so once the rover is on the ground, I'll be working with the science team, the scientists and the engineers to sort of build the plans of science activities and observations that we'll be sending up to the rover every single day.
That is really exciting and cool. Well, and that's something else I want to talk about too. I mean, there's a lot, but talking about the rover itself. I mean, we've had rovers on Mars before, Curiosity, Spirit, Opportunity, and all of those. What makes Perseverance different from those, and what kind of advancements have we seen with this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Perseverance is definitely the most sophisticated and actually the largest rover that we've ever sent to Mars. And that's because we have a pretty bold set of mission objectives that include the search for signs of ancient life at our landing site with Perseverance. And so to do that, we're carrying a set of scientific instruments that will be able to actually search for organic molecules and minerals within the rocks. in Jezero Crater, our landing site, at a much finer scale that we've ever been able to do with previous missions.
Well, and so I want to talk about both the search for ancient life and the Jezero crater. I guess bringing up the crater in particular, what were the reasons, out of the entire planet that you selected this one crater to land on and have targeted that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Choosing a landing site for a mission like Perseverance is a really daunting task. And we'll be going to a place called Jezero Crater, which is a 28-mile wide impact crater that we actually think used to host an ancient lake and delta around 3.5 billion years ago. And this environment, with a lake and flowing rivers into the lake, was active right around the time that microbial life was actually just getting started here on Earth. So we think that if life also evolved on Mars, that Jezero Crater would have been a pretty great place for these little microbes to thrive. And so this landing site was selected because we think it's such a good place to search for these signs of ancient life.
I mean, if you do discover that, that's going to be one of the biggest discoveries in all of human history, to discover evidence of life on another planet. What's that like for you, just being a part of this? How do you anticipate you'll react if you do find this?
Yeah, it's really is a daunting task, and it's an incredible challenge to be able to say for certain that we've discovered life on Mars. And so we've gone through exhaustive efforts with preparing and building the rover to make sure that everything that we're bringing with us is ultra clean, ultra sterilized, so that if we do find traces of life on Mars, we can actually confidently say that it's Martian in origin and not, microbes that hitched a ride to Mars on our rover with us. And being able to for certain say that we've found life on Mars is such a huge task. And we'll need to actually be able to bring those samples back to Earth to be able to say for certain whether or not it's 100% evidence of life on Mars.
So, say you do find, this evidence of life. Is there a naming process that goes through with that? Would it get a name? How does that work?
That's actually a really good question, and conversations like that are constantly going on at NASA and laboratories across the world. And I think with the Perseverance rover in particular, like I mentioned earlier, we really need to bring those samples back to Earth to be able to assess them, using the full arsenal of laboratories that we have here on Earth. And so with Perseverance, we'll actually be able to collect samples from the Martian surface and eventually bring them back to Earth. This is sort of the first step in a larger effort called Mars Sample Return, and we'll actually be able to bring these samples back to Earth so we can study them here in laboratories on Earth around the early 2030s.
Which would be amazing. I mean, and that's obviously, like you said, a step in a few missions that would be able to do that. Another big thing, though, is research to kind of further the goal of bringing humans to Mars. Can you talk about what some of the research is that you're doing with that and how you're preparing for that?
Yeah, it's a really great question. Perseverance and the mission that we're sending with Perseverance is actually going to help us make several steps towards being able to support human exploration of Mars. Perseverance is carrying an instrument called MOXIE, and with MOXIE, we're hoping to demonstrate the technology to be able to actually take carbon dioxide molecules out of the Martian atmosphere and actually convert them into oxygen. And as you know, oxygen is a pretty critical component for human exploration and will be needed for life support for astronauts, as well as rocket fuel for astronauts sort of on the trip to and from Mars. And then also on Perseverance, we have an instrument named META, which is going to allow us to collect data about the atmospheric conditions at Perseverance's landing site. And so, for example, we'll be able to learn about the weather on Mars and how it changes from day to day and season to season. And we'll also be able to measure the radiation, the solar radiation on the surface of Mars with this instrument. And that's going to be super important for humans to be able to survive and work on the surface of Mars in the future.
That is so cool that you're going to be able to get all of that data. I kind of geek out about that stuff. Something I wanted to ask you. So it's just a couple of quick questions. I don't need a long answer for these, but just some Mars questions for you. So talking about bringing humans to Mars, is that something you would ever want to do? Would you want to go on a trip to Mars?
I would totally 100% go to Mars, but only as long as I can also come back to Earth, because Earth is pretty great.
All right. So, a lot of people ask about what your desert island soundtrack would be. What would your desert planet soundtrack be?
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh man, I am a 90s kid, and so I'm a huge fan of Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco. It kind of gets me pumped up to focus and to get some work done here on Earth. So I think I'd probably bring that along with me.
Yeah, I'm sure Fallout Boy and Panic at the Disco would be stoked about that as well. And final question, what is your favorite movie about Mars?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would definitely say The Martian, because the book is also fantastic, and they did an incredible job with sort of the scenery of Mars, and paid homage to other rovers and missions to Mars. But in general, also I would add Apollo 13 into the mix. I know it's not a mission to Mars, but I think it really is a really good sort of reminder of what we do with NASA and why Perseverance is such a good and appropriate name for this mission that we're sending to Mars right now.
Well, talking about the mission too, getting back to that, February 18th, depending on when people are watching this, this is going to be going on, and you're going to be entering into the atmosphere. I know there's the 7 minutes of terror. There's all of this work that's kind of come into this. What can we expect as far as like watching the coverage, but also what's going to be going through your mind and your colleagues' minds during this?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. The 7 minutes of terror, I'll certainly be terrified. I'm a geologist, so I don't have anything to do with the actual 7 minutes of terror and all of the engineering work that went into the landing system. So we have 100% trust in our engineers. They've done an incredible job preparing for this moment, and so I'll certainly be nervous, as I think everybody else will be. But I think the excitement about the mission and all of the exploration that we'll do in Jezero Crater will outweigh the nerves, I hope.
Well, I mean, it's definitely going to be amazing watching this. And I got to say, assuming, and the whole world is rooting for this, that everything is going to be successful on this. How do you celebrate? How does a JPL engineer celebrate a successful landing of this? Is there champagne? What do you guys do?
Great question. Yeah, if you watched the Curiosity landing back in 2012, you could see all the jubilation of the folks in Mission Control. It's a little bit different, in 2021 with the global pandemic going on. So it's definitely going to be a much smaller group of people in the room at Mission Control at JPL. So I'll be here in my apartment, which is a little bit different. We certainly all want to be able to hug and high five and stuff like that. So we'll just have to be doing that virtually this time. So it'll still be super exciting, and we'll definitely still celebrate as a team.
Well, Rachel, I want to say thank you very much for joining us to talk about this. It's really, really cool. I cannot wait to watch all of this go down and see, all of your hard work and your teammates' hard work and all this research that we're going to get. It's really an incredible moment just in space exploration in general. And you're a big part of that. And that's really cool to talk to you about that. And I want to wish you best of success. And I can't wait to see it all go down.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Right here with us, we had Rachel Kronyak. So this is very, very cool. And if you want to follow along, of course, you can watch everything that's going down live. And if you want to find out more about us, of course, always hit subscribe and share. I'm Greg Nibbler for 2Box Media. All right, there we go. So again, Rachel Kronyak from JPL. And congratulations again to NASA and everything they've done. And they're going to be putting out more stuff today as well. There's going to be more images, more pictures. Like I said, the audio is going to be coming out. I didn't even mention the helicopter. I mean, there's a helicopter drone that's involved. That one's probably going to be a few weeks out before they test that. They said they're going to run through everything first, and then they'll give that a shot. But a lot of cool stuff coming out from that. And that is what we have for you today. But there is something else I want to emphasize. Go to youtube.com/2boxmedia, TWO Box Media. Follow along, subscribe, share, like. I mean, do that on every platform. We do appreciate it. Even Facebook, as they're still allowing things to be shared on there right now in the United States. But yeah, it means a lot. It goes a long ways. We do really, really thank you for that and for joining in. We've got a lot of cool things on the way. It's always going to be changing. We've got great stuff. Look, the set's even changing up. You never know what you're going to get here when you tune into the show. So thank you to everybody who's a part of that. And that is it for this Friday. I want everybody to have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday with another episode at our 10 a.m. time. Oh, by the way, thank you. We had to shift just a little bit today, but we'll be back at 10 a.m. Pacific on Monday. But follow along at Twitter. We'll always keep you updated right there as well. Thanks for watching. On behalf of myself, Jess Serba, Mike Solis, I'm Greg Nibbler. This has been The Inbox.